Welcome everyone to Authen-Tea-Cally in Nyoka. And today we have Miss Myeisha Thompson, someone that I've been waiting to talk to for a very, very long time. She is a health and wellness practitioner that does a lot of things, but not only that, she's also an author. So we are here to chat it up with her and get her perspective on her health and wellness journey as well as business. So I'm going to ask Myeisha, please introduce yourself to our community.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this too. I am Myeisha Thompson. I'm founder of Amani Massage and Wellness. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, so Amani means peace, which is my guiding star. So that's why I named the business that. And my focus is on helping women who are ready to get out of their own way and get over chronic anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and really just, live those best versions of themselves and reimagine what their lives can be. So I'm excited about that. So the practice is massage therapy, which has been a core, but also the mind, body, spirit practices that really are the healing mechanisms. So yeah. And the book Through You to You, which
Oh,
we'll talk about,
hold
is
on, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt your intro for
sure.
a
No,
minute
let's
because I
go.
heard you say something and we have
Yes.
to do a little deeper dive. So you said the practice is massage therapy, but there's a body mind healing connection that
Yes.
works through spirit. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, so body, mind, spirit connection, right? That is the real healing mechanism. So when I started in massage therapy just a few years ago, I kind of meandered my way there from a whole different career, and we can double back to that. But through my own journey, what I have found is that you can't just treat the mind and not your body and your spirit. You can't just treat your body without dealing with your mind and your spirit. You can't just kind of go on this spiritual journey without paying attention to your body and your mind,
Come
right?
through, Maisha. Come through
Right.
and tell
So
the people what it is.
yes. So I call it the great unlearning, right? When it comes to wellness, we have been told that these things are separate, and what our, ancestors and indigenous folks knew is that they are one, they're inseparable. So yeah, that's the journey that I'm taking with my business right now, is really leaning into that education and really supporting women who've suffered like I did with chronic anxiety and depression, and then later chronic physical pain. That you got to go with the whole thing. You can't just one or the other. So that is really the mission I'm on now, is to really support others through that great unlearning and the relearning of what it means to really embody you. Yeah.
So this is why we've been waiting so long for this conversation, and we're so excited to have it because we are playing the same song. We are
Yes.
we are literally singing the same song. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So tell us about where you practice. Tell us how you started. Folks need to know like where you are.
Yeah. So, like I said, I meandered my way here. I am career wise. I've been a digital marketing strategist. A content writer, copywriter, a lot of work in the technical space, and so that's what I've done. Right. So, marketing, writing. I'm a communicator by trade. So those are all things I've done over the years, career wise, and I love it. I love my work. But I got here in 2020 after having gone through my own journey of chronic anxiety, chronic depression, fibromyalgia diagnosis, autoimmune diagnosis, so the whole bag, right? And at that point in 2020, I'd already been far enough down the road where I'd begun practicing some of the body work, lots of meditation. I've been doing yoga for 25 years now, all of those things. But it was a spot where I knew I had to kind of bring it all together consistently. And that's what happened. But the massage therapy actually came to me, I'm gonna just go there, in a dream. Like I literally, like I had zero clue. I knew I wanted to get into the wellness industry just because I had a passion for it because of my own practice. And I wanted to share. And I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be a yoga teacher. You know, like what I was kind of playing around, like what actually do I want to, how do I want to come into this as a, you know, as a facilitator, as a practitioner? And it was a dream. And I, you know, had been in Phoenix for about a year at that time. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I got here and COVID happened, and I had someone in my family pass. One of my cousins, she didn't pass from COVID, but she was, I think Danny was 2 years older than me, right? So one of my closest in age, my closest cousin. And I woke up one morning to a call and I found out she'd passed away suddenly. And I thought to myself, what are we doing here? Sometimes it's just, you get that feeling like, okay, like this, we need to take this thing a little bit more seriously and just kind of live in a more intentional space. And I was heading there. But it was one of those things that kind of kicked me into action. And then I had that dream. And I woke up and I said, because I have an artist soul, so I've been all over the place with work and career. My friends are always like, "What is she doing now?" Like it's literally
artist soul, always searching, always wanting to create.
Right. And my friends were like, so I didn't even tell anybody because it's like, what is she? Here she goes. And my son was home from school, and I said, I want you to go to this massage therapy, I got online, of course, after the dream because it jarred me. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. And had no clue where it would take me, how it would go. But I decided to just allow it to kind of pull me, like the energy of it. And that's what happened. And I went to school and I was the oldest person in there. Like it's evening, I'm working during the day. Like it was crazy. Like I didn't anticipate how rigorous it would be. Hadn't been in school since graduate school like 15 years ago. So I was like, what in the world? I am learning anatomy and physiology and kinesiology, like all of the things, like, and it was not connected to anything that I knew. So I was actually really learning. Like I said, I went to school. Everything is around communications, around marketing, it's around language, and all of those things. So this was net new, but I was fascinated and tired, but I knew it was where I needed to be. So that's how it started. And I fell in love with it. Massage was one of those things that helped me years ago when I was dealing with chronic pain and things like that. And it was like, okay. And one of my guiding principles being peace, massage has always been one of those things that it helps you learn how to feel good in your body. Most of us don't even know how it feels to literally be really relaxed. And you don't know what you're reaching for until you've experienced it sometimes, right? So it's like when we're on that table and we at least know we have a reference point now. What does it feel like to let go? What does it feel like to really just be relaxed? And it's an hour, it's a 90 minutes in your schedule where you really get to just experience it. And I think that getting familiar with that feeling is important when we're dealing with burnout and anxiety and depression. Like you got to know what it feels like to feel good in your body.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been, and I decided to open my own practice. I'm like, look, I already have a job. I'm not going to go work for anybody else with this. And yeah, I named it Massage and Wellness because I knew at some point I would bring in some of the other practices that really helped me and dig myself out of it all. So yeah, but it was definitely kind of a winding, and still is a winding thing, but I'm more committed than ever because I see so many of us still struggling. And I know that feeling. Like I am deeply aware and connected to what it feels like to just almost a silent acceptance that this is just what it is. Like I'm going to feel that way and life is just going to feel this way forever. And it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to feel that way. Nope.
One of the things that resonated with me as you were talking was you have to know what it feels like. You have to have a reference point.
Yep.
I think if you live most of your life in that heightened sense of stress, it's very important to know what it feels like to level out
Yep.
so that you can always return to it.
Yep.
I'm a science head. Everybody knows
I love it. We are kindred spirits. I love the science behind it all. Yes.
Yeah. So, when we learn about the nervous system, we learn about action potentials.
Yep.
And we know that it is the accumulation of the energy, the electricity that spikes, and then it comes down, and then you have that accumulation again, and then it spikes.
Yep.
And then our body. So because of that, we also have to know how to regulate it, right? You have to know, I'm in too much of a stress space here. What can I do to bring my body back down to a space of calm? And so massage is an excellent way to do that. Meditation is an excellent way to do that, even though some people may not understand how it works and they feel like they're just sitting there and nothing is happening. Like, what is happening? Especially when you first start.
Absolutely.
So to our folks that are just starting with meditation, please tell us some more about how to approach it.
So I started meditation probably and not consistently by any means, because I had a lot of the same hangups, right? But like 20 some odd years ago. And it was a struggle because I thought I was supposed to be doing something or achieving something, right? So again, it's that whole, I'm driving towards something, and not understanding for a very long time that it's about building a relationship with your mind. It's about learning how to separate the you that's you from the thoughts, right? I am not my thoughts, right? So it really is a practice in witnessing, in giving yourself space from it. And once you're able to give it space through the sitting, through the breathing, through the non-attachment, and even walking with intention, right? So anything can be meditative, and we can talk about that, but separating yourself from the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings. And I think when you're able to watch your thoughts and not judge your thoughts, which is a big part of meditation, you're then able to connect to some of the things that we hear people say, about the benefits, right? So the calm, the stress-free, even connection to spirit, all of those things that can happen with a practice. But the practice is really to learn how to separate yourself from your thoughts, from your emotions, from your feet, from all of those things, and connect to the you that's watching. There's a you. If I'm watching my thoughts, then they're not my thoughts. They're separate from me, rather. So that's a whole nother thing that it's about learning how to create space and distance from those things. And because a lot of people feel like they can't meditate, that's how I ended up with at breathwork, which is another practice, because it really is.
We're gonna get into
that. But I really, it's all connected. But start where you are is always my thing. Start where you are, give yourself some grace, and learn how to just give yourself the space. And as I say, to not let your mind and your emotions drag you around, because that's what's happening to most of us. They are dragging us around all day, snatching us all day, every day. And I'm like, you know what? Nope. You don't get to run me anymore. I decide. I decide this feeling, this emotion, I decide if I want to engage with you right now. Right. And that is what meditation gives us. It gives us space to then have some agency over what you're going to engage with and what you're not going to engage
But
with.
the amazing thing is you talk about watch your thoughts.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
working with someone right now, and she explained watching her thoughts like an outer body experience.
Mhm.
Because we've been working together, because she's been allowed that space, she said she had this breakthrough interaction. And in the interaction, it's like she was watching herself talk through the conversation in a
Yep.
different way.
Yep.
Talk through, she said, Nyoka, most of the time I would just fly off the handle and I would just, but this time, literally, she was pausing. She gave herself the space to choose
Yep.
another way to approach the conversation and choose. And it takes practice.
That's the part. That's the practice. That is the meditation practice. It is part of the unlearning
Yeah.
for so many of us. But just the awareness that we can do it is mind blowing for most of us. I know it was for me, because who knew that I could actually, with so much agency, give myself those choices to interact with my thoughts and my emotions however I want to. They're not my master. So yeah, giving yourself that is a practice. And we don't, but now that I'm aware of it, I don't do it nearly as much. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? It's like
Yes.
my new set point. I have a new baseline.
Yes.
New baseline, and then you're able to kind of grow differently.
Yes. Yes. So most people would be like, okay, well, when I started meditation, I would literally have to set aside more time in my day to do that. But now that it is actively a part of my
Absolutely.
practice, it doesn't demand so much from me. It's now like the atomic habit is now a new habit.
Yep.
And so that's my default instead of what I was choosing before. Let's talk about
This is the thing. We're building a new normal. You said it, and I love that. Like, that's really what all of this is about, is creating a new normal. Like that's the game. That is the goal, and that's the game that we're playing. So I love that.
So how do you approach, and I don't know if you talk about this in your book, but how do you approach those folks who say, I don't want to let go though of that part of me. Like I like
Yeah.
that fighter part of me that's so that's like I'm not taking nobody's shit, excuse me.
Right.
I'm
Look.
not that part of me that's like, no, I'm standing, this is, I want to be feisty and I want to be hot. Because this is an important conversation. I'm going to tell you why. I was in the airport and I went to a spa because I had time. And I
Yay.
was talking to one of the ladies that was doing my nails because I got a little mani pedi. And we were talking about women who, even in their 70s, they don't want to let go of calling somebody a bitch. And they don't want to let go of the quick comeback. They don't want to let go of that. How do you help women transition into the space where it's not about letting go of your tenacity? It's about something else. Let's talk about that.
So for me, my first question is, how's that working for you? Like, okay, is it working for you? If it's working for you, God bless it. Like, if that makes you feel good, like if there is something in you that needs that and you think it's okay, then by all means. I am a very much a will you be healed person. You have to be willing, you have to be open to the possibility that because this is not working, it's not going to help me fix it. Whatever it is that I'm uncomfortable with in my life, in the way I show up, I have to consider that I'm the problem. yeah, like I am always the problem, and that is always my approach. Whatever is happening in my life, I am always the problem. So that's another conversation. But I I don't try to convince people of anything. I am most effective with people who are sick of their own shit. Because that's what it took for me, right? Like I had to be tired. Like I've been doing this the same way and it is not working. I feel like hell. Now I'm ready to try anything different, right?
Can
So
you
I had to get fed up.
can you give us an example of something that you recognized in your life that you had to change because it wasn't working for you?
Absolutely. So for decades, since I was in my 20s, I suffered from chronic anxiety and depression. So I was on all types of medications and all of the, just all of the things, talk therapy and um, just years of no matter what I did on the outside, I did not feel better. I could not out achieve it career wise. I could not
Mm.
out look it better aesthetically. Like there was nothing I could do to shake what was happening. And it was just, I was stuck in it. And when things look good on the outside, but they feel like hell on the inside, it can be tricky. Right. So for me, I was trying to figure out what was actually going on. And I unwittingly kind of resigned myself to it, even though I knew that it wasn't good. But for me, the shaking point was when my son's father was murdered, and I became a single mom back in 2013. So I was left with my 11-year-old, and I needed to show up differently for him.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so it was like, whatever you have going on, ma'am, you need to fix it, because I just refused to have him live with me full time. And I can't get out of bed some days. And I am too anxious to function or anything like that. So, his dad was, extremely present in his life. And so I was able to cover, right? So it was always a thing where I could pull myself together just enough for the days that he and I were together, and I was okay. But now there's no covering this anymore. Like we're about to be in it together full time, and he needs me, and I can't show up like that. So that was my kind of come to Jesus, part of my life, where it was like, you gotta show up differently now. Like whatever it is, you need to do better. So sometimes your why has to be somebody else before it can be yourself.
Oh, Myeisha, I love that.
Yeah, and he was my
Sometimes your why has to be someone else before it becomes you. So when did it become you?
it became me probably, I would say maybe just maybe 5 years ago, because I needed to get him through, school. And for me, it was just about making sure he was okay, having dealt with that trauma, in such a precarious time in his life, I needed to get him through. So that was like my, goal was to like launch him into life, successfully. And when he graduated from college in 2019, and I didn't know that I was kind of holding my breath, but I was, and it was okay. Now I can, like kind of breathe and kind of turn my focus a little bit more intentionally internally, even though I'd done that already, because I knew that I couldn't show up for him until I dealt with me. So I had done that, but now it was, at that point, it was a lot more like, okay, now you can kind of more fully be your own why. And I'm worth it. Oh my goodness. That was just the best feeling. Like you deserve to be well and vibrant and thriving for you. Like yeah, you get to do that just for you. You are worthy of that. And that was a big deal for me, but he was it initially, like just making sure that I showed up as the best possible mother I could for him at that just terrible time, for all of us, but for him. And that just kind of snapped me out of it, and it was like, well, what you've been doing isn't working. So what are we going to do? And I
Yeah.
just, I call it I threw the kitchen sink at it, like just
Yeah.
anything, everything,
Yeah.
and making sure that I was able to be that person. And yeah. So that was, I don't deal with people who want to fight for their limitations. I'm
Yeah.
not your girl. If you are fighting for your limitations, if you are fighting and still wedded some kind of way to being that way, you don't understand that, being feisty and fiery can show up, and you can generate fire in different ways, right? Doesn't always have to be violent.
Blazing.
Right, exactly. Like I'm very fiery and passionate, but I'm also real laid back and calm, because I don't need to generate it from a place of uh panic or anger there are so many different ways to generate all of that, but you got to be open and willing. So if you are not open and willing, if you are fighting for your limitations still, you clearly haven't reached your rock bottom. So when you get to the bottom, holla at me. But
And then when you get there, it might take more than just a wellness practitioner. It,
oh
it might take allopathic medicine
yeah,
to
absolutely.
stabilize you before you can fully embrace. And for those of us who don't like that, I
Yep,
think this is your sign
yep,
to want to throw the kitchen sink now
yep.
and not when it gets to the point where, possibly you have to be admitted into a facility in order to get stabilized.
Yeah, so it was really a wellness practitioner, acupuncturist who was, I think it was 2016 or 2017, and I write about this in my book. She was the first person, as I'd been diagnosed with, you know, fibromyalgia. So if anybody doesn't know what that is a full body pain, and it's brutal. It affects your brain. It's brutal, and then an autoimmune condition. And I was just kind of, at my wit's end, and I was at the acupuncturist, and she was the first doctor who asked me what was going on in my life
Mm.
when I first had a fibromyalgia flare, when when my body started
Mm.
quote unquote breaking on me. Because I had a back surgery around that same time as well. Like my body, just the alarm rang. It
Yes.
rang. It was like, you are done playing around with this. But she was the first doctor, the acupuncturist, who asked me what was going on in my life. And it was one of those pivotal moments where I'm like, and I knew she was right immediately. Like my spirit knew that this was not just physical. I have been holding on to emotions. There were so many things but it took her to kind of pull that out of me and even just ask me. The rheumatologist never asked me that. The psychiatrist never asked me that, in a meaningful way. No one ever asked me what food I was eating,
Yeah.
what was in my body. No one told me to fast to clean my system so that I can connect to, like all of the things, right? And it's like, those are the questions that we now need to be equipped to ask ourselves. You gotta pay attention to yourself. If there's anything I could say, is to just start paying attention to yourself.
That's right.
Notice what you're doing when you're feeling this way. What am I eating?
Yes.
What am I drinking? Am I sleeping? What's going on in my life? So those are all of the things that it's whole living,
Yeah.
and nothing feels completely good unless it's whole. Yeah.
Oh, When are we going to work together? Like, if
Dude, I'm gonna get you in the
like,
I'm gonna get you in the desert, honey. You are coming out here. I promise you.
I'll
2025.
come.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
will
yes.
come. I will come.
Yes.
I try not to, even though there's so much more I would love to talk with you about. I try to make these conversations not too long,
Right.
but it's in working together that we will expand and we will grow. So please tell the community how to get in touch with you. Tell the community how to purchase your book.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about when we're going to get on the calendar. So I
Yes,
can
yes,
come
yes,
out
yes.
there to you in the Arizona desert and we
Yes,
can do some true work
absolutely. I'm
together.
so looking forward to it. I feel like so many of us now, we get it. We've done it the other ways, right? We've followed the scripts, we've done all the things, and it's not working. And I think so many of us now are just ready and open and available
Yeah.
to this message, which is really it warms my heart, and I'm happy to be able to help in any way I can. So the book is Through You to You. And I wrote this as kind of I'm a science girl too. So I talk about my approach. I kind of reverse engineer my own approach from, getting out of that chronic anxiety and depression and really giving myself permission to step into something new, a new way of kind of existing. And so it's part, science, it's part anecdotal with me, and it really has lots of resources in there because I dug in, to all of the, research, to the books, to all of the things, right? I did all the things, and I wanted to share that, but it really is kind of a little reverse engineering of my process that I call the Through You to You framework. And it is about going through the version of you that is existing and that you want to evolve from, and getting through that to the you that feels whole. So my main business is Amani Massage and Wellness, but Through You to You is kind of the wellness brand after that, and I'm setting up a community for that. So we'll talk about you being a part of that community. I would so love to have you as a part of that community. But yeah, so throughyoutoyou.com is that, and Amani Massage and Wellness, if anybody is in this area, is open as well. I've been holding small women's wellness workshops and events, very small, 10 people, 10 to 12 people, where we really get to come together and practice and explore in community, right? So some of these things we're just learning, and it's really nice to learn and be able to ask questions in a safe space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
Absolutely. Myeisha, thank you so much
Thank
for
you. It's been a pleasure.
this conversation. And I'm going to make sure that I connect you, link you in the comments below this when I post in the community. And if you're not in the community, please jump in so that you can.
I'm not. I need to.
Please jump in, jump in, jump in. But I want to thank you so very much. And
Thank
I look
you.
forward to all the wonderful things that we're doing
Yes.
to do
Yes,
together.
yes, yes.
I really
Absolutely.
think that Alona chose the right one. She chose the
Yes.
right one.
I was so happy when she introduced us. I'm like, you knew. How did you know? So yeah, I'm so
You be
looking.
knowing. Alona Washington, shout out
Yeah,
to
shout out,
Alona.
girl. You be knowing.
All right, Myeisha, much love until we talk again.
Thank you.